What's up? Welcome in. Happy, let's see, what day is it? Tuesday.
Yeah.
Happy Tuesday.
Delco Dave's Taco Tuesday.
That's right. Delco Dave's Taco Tuesday. I'm trying to figure out how to get our picture on the stream. It's not correlating onto the stream. So let me try this here. Hold on one second. Give me one moment. I think I got it. There we got it.
Look at
All
us.
right, hello. You can see us now on the stream. Welcome in. It's the happy hour. 93.7 The Ticket. TheTicketFM.com. Nick Sainert and no Rico today. Austin Orman filling in for Rico. What's up, Austin?
Oh, just living life.
Here you are once again, filling in for one of the happy hour hosts. It's just the man is just always, he's just always there to help fill in.
I am
It's
the
Austin
ultimate
Orman.
platoon player.
Something like
That's
that.
myself.
Yeah. So speaking of platoon, we are only like a month and a half away from spring training, if that.
I see on
People
ESPN
forget that.
that the Royals have a spring training game in 1 month. February 23rd.
We need to talk about this, by the way. Speaking of the Royals.
Both our teams are winning the Central.
No. I'm pretty sure that we've never had this conversation. I'm 99% sure Bobby Witt Jr. was at my resort. And I sent you a picture of that.
And I didn't see him. I was very confused.
Did you not see the guy in the picture, or did you not think it was Bobby Witt?
Well, I saw the guy, and I know for a fact that's not Bobby Witt.
I'm 99% sure Bobby Witt Jr. was at the swim up bar with me. I don't know. There was Royals gear involved.
Okay.
There was Royals gear involved. It looked in person. I couldn't get a good enough. This is going to make me sound like a creep. I couldn't get a good enough picture without being a creep.
Okay, it's that guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not Bobby. Way different hair, way different face.
Not in person. The picture doesn't do it justice. We got to figure out a way to get a hold of Bobby.
That is black hair. Bobby's hair is like brown.
It wasn't black. It wasn't black in person. It wasn't black in person. It was a lot lighter. He had just taken a dip in the pool. I'm just saying. I'm 98% sure. I don't know. We'll have to maybe get a hold of Bobby Witt Jr.
Here's the thing. Here's what we can do is someone on this radio program may or may not have the number for the play-by-play voice of the Royals.
That's right.
So I might be able to.
He just got married.
He did just get married. So big shout out to the man Jake Eisenberg.
Yeah. Shout out to Jake.
We'll reach out to him here in the next month. See if Bobby is there.
Yeah, maybe. Nonetheless, maybe I don't want to find out because that'd be very awkward that I just took a random photo of a guy and a guy and a girl, and I said, "Hey, I think it's Bobby Witt Jr."
That's also not Bobby's lady. She's blonde.
No.
So
oh no. I might have just outed Bobby. No, I'm kidding. As always, 402-464-5685. The Honda of Lincoln hotline and the Starter Heyman text line are open for you guys the entire show today, as well as the Starter Heyman Jewelers live video stream. Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Allo Channel 961 are the places for you guys to watch what's going on inside the studio. We started off with this question. I got to ask you guys, my 11-year-old said that the NFL is scripted. That's why he likes college sports. He said the NFL gives away who's going to be in the Super Bowl by the colors that they are promoting the Super Bowl with. What are your thoughts, guys? And he says, or they follow that up with saying, this shows that the Ravens are going to win because once again, there is a clip of, hey, these are the colors 2 years ago. When the Rams and Bengals were in it, it was orange and yellow or orange and gold. Last year, the colors that they promoted the Super Bowl with were were red and green for the Chiefs and the Eagles. This year, they are purple. Purple and it'd be red which
again.
are the 49ers.
Yeah. Y'all sound like Stricky.
How do you feel?
Like, if you believe that the NFL is scripted, I cannot talk you out of it because everything I say will make me sound like a plant that's trying to convince you otherwise.
Yeah.
I find it incredibly difficult to believe that the entire NFL is essentially the WWE.
Yeah,
right.
I 100%
I find
agree.
it so hard to believe that there is a mastermind or there are a couple of masterminds behind the string, like telling Roger Goodell what to do, telling people how to act. Because at some point, you either need to like brainwash these people or we are just more screwed as a society than I think. If the Ravens win, it's because they're the better team.
And that's
if the Niners
point.
win, it's because they're the better team.
I think
it's just a coincidence at this point.
Part of the things with sports, and I think to this texter's thought, that why your 11-year-old likes college sports more than professional. I think there's this level of, in college sports, greater possibility of the unexpected happening.
But also, you still have Alabama in the college football playoffs,
yes,
so don't tell me that's not scripted.
I understand that. I understand that. But I think what I'm getting at is that you have a better chance in college sports of an underdog actually being able to beat a number one team in the country for whatever sport it is, whether it's basketball, whether it's football, whatever the case may be, on any given day.
Yes.
Instead of, all right, if you're in this case, the Ravens losing to the Cardinals, right? We saw it a couple of times this year, right? The Eagles had this dramatic downfall and this dramatic slide over the last 5 weeks of the season. So, and you saw it that the Bills, on one hand, they had this dramatic rise to end the season. But why? They fired their offensive coordinator. They brought in, they made Joe Brady the full-time offensive coordinator. Josh Allen started playing more towards the Josh Allen that we saw. There's a lot of factors that go into it, I think. But I understand, as somebody also, and I've never had this conversation with you, Austin, if you prefer watching collegiate athletics over professional athletics. Over the last couple of years, I've actually gravitated towards NFL more so than I was in previous years. Not saying I like professional sports more than college sports, because college football is so special. But I've gained a further interest in, you know what? Every Sunday, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to watch football religiously. I wasn't like that 4 or 5 years ago. And it's not because I'm on the radio Monday through Friday. It's that's not the case.
Right.
It's because I truly want to watch NFL all day on Sunday. And it wasn't always like that, I think.
Right. I will say this too. Arian Foster had that big thing a while back about, he got his NFL script. No, he's thinking he's the Kyrie Irving of the NFL in a lot of ways.
Arian Foster.
Yeah, there's a name, Tennessee guy. I tend to prefer watching college sports. I will say I prefer pro baseball to college baseball. I'm just really starting to get into college baseball in the last few years. Love me some college baseball, but I would rather sit down and watch a random MLB game. But I will watch a college football game over an NFL game every time outside of the Super Bowl. I love the chaos potential. And college basketball is probably my favorite sport to watch. I will flip on
college basketball.
Yes, college basketball. I will just flip on any college basketball game that's on, and I can latch on to something.
Dang. I am not necessarily shocked that you enjoy professional baseball over college baseball. College baseball, I don't know, man. There's something what you can do for college basketball, I can do for college baseball.
Fair.
I would turn on if it's I don't know. There's also something about towards postseason play in the regionals.
Oh yeah,
watching a 4 seed try to knock off a 1 seed.
It's great. Don't get me wrong.
Is incredible. But I guess I don't know if I could find myself turning on a Wright State and Murray State game in college basketball. I don't know if I could see myself doing that. Would you?
I would.
Wow.
I would turn that on over Bucks Knicks. For example.
Okay, we're on the same page.
Or even in college baseball, if you give me I don't know, Nebraska and Oral Roberts, I'm watching because Nebraska. But if you give me Oklahoma State and USC midweek baseball against I don't know, whatever Monday night baseball is, or Friday night is, I'm watching the MLB game.
That's interesting, because I'm one of those guys that once actually we're probably close to that time where they drop the ESPN networks broadcast of college baseball games. I will go in and circle okay, LSU's playing South Carolina on this Saturday, and I will carve out time in my schedule. Now I understand not nearly anybody's going to do that with college baseball, but that is what makes then in turn for me the College World Series even more exciting. And throughout the postseason is because I've watched these pitchers and I've watched these hitters and these guys that are up for the Golden Spikes Award throughout a good chunk of their season. And it's really competitive baseball in the SEC, as everybody knows, that it's you know what? Once they get to Omaha, I'm not going to the game not only for the atmosphere, but also to see these guys that I remember. Because I loved going to the CWS and being able to be like, yeah, you know what? Dansby Swanson just last Tuesday got drafted by the Diamondbacks.
Right.
We don't get that anymore. So now I try to figure out a way to where it's like, okay, who is this guy so that I can know a little bit about him before I go to the game, which then makes the game experience more enjoyable for me.
We talk about how college football is in kind of a weird transition spot right now, and college basketball, not a lot of people like because it's not necessarily aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah.
Like college basketball is pretty ugly to watch most nights, whereas the NBA is almost too pretty. There's not really that in between. I love how college baseball, like it feels like a big step up from high school.
Yep.
But you also have that nice mix of, hey, these are guys that probably got drafted in the later rounds, decided to come back, or these under the radar guys that didn't get drafted, because you kind of have that mix of once you get to college for baseball, you have to stay the 3 years like football.
Yeah.
But you can be drafted straight out of high school like the old NBA rules. So I love the spot that college baseball is in, where you can have professional talent at the college level, but still have that, regular quote unquote, everyday college guy who's just there for college, who might be a late round draft pick, maybe carve something out. College baseball, I think, is the best middle ground we have as a sport between high school and the pros.
It's interesting because for the folks that are listening right now or watching, whatever the case may be, where they sit there and like, well, gosh, baseball's boring. Baseball, especially at the major league level, is boring because you very rarely get the high scoring games, right? You don't get those very often in the majors. Well, that's why I gravitate personally towards college baseball, because I am what I guess they classify as a purist, where it's like, yeah, I love those 1-0 ball games. I love those 2-1 ball games where
you just don't like being there for 3 hours.
I don't like being there. Exactly. And that's the case. It's like, even when I go to a major league game, if I go down to the Royals, it's like, all right, I hope there's at least like 7 total runs here. I hope it's a 6-3 ball game. Where last year when I went to the one with the Twins, the Royals put up 15 and it was great for about 7 innings. And then it was like, holy cow, you know what? This game kind of lasted a while. College baseball, as you said, is really, really good at the middle ground piece. And here's why. You go down to Haymarket Park and one day it might be a 12-9 ball game. But the very next day against the same 2 programs where, frankly, 16 of the 18 guys playing are the same people outside of the pitchers, obviously, it could be a 1-0 finish.
Right.
The differences are so dramatic to where you can have the high scoring game that a certain audience loves, or you can have a pitcher's duel that the other side of the spectrum love. So that's why I think appreciate it, is because like when I'm watching SEC baseball on a Saturday, is this game between LSU and South Carolina, or LSU Vanderbilt, whatever it is, it could be the most pure baseball performance that I've seen in a college game that season. But then the very next day between those 2 schools, when I watch it at 12 o'clock on SEC Network, it's a 9-8 finish and there's 6 combined errors.
Right.
It's a complete, you just have no idea why, because you still get that amateur side of sports.
Oh, the chaos is fun.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. One thing I do prefer about college baseball to the pros is how your rotation sets up every weekend, where you have a Friday guy that when you go to the ballpark, you're going to get 6+ innings of domination. You have your Saturday guy trying to be that, your Sunday guy just trying to piece it together. I love the idea of midweek games where you can get younger guys in on the bump in the field, give them a shot. But I just love the crack of a wood bat, whether it's a home run or just, a solid single. The pitch sequencing in the majors, I think, is, second to none. And you avoid those like 16, walks in a row. Yeah. That is just so brutal in college.
Maybe I appreciate the atmosphere in college baseball better.
That's fair. Yeah.
And maybe we'll have this conversation in June once the CWS comes around. But like,
you better be back up at Blur. That's all I'm saying.
That's yeah. I hope so too. I think it's much more intimate in college baseball, which college baseball now has to be careful, because with TD Ameritrade or Charles Schwab Field, they're moving away from it. They're moving not far away from being intimate, but compared to Rosenblatt, it's a completely different type of feel.
But see, I don't hate that. I mean, you want that same, feel in the regular season as you do regionals, but you also want it ramped up to the same degree. And that's why I hope that college football takes a long look at what college baseball is doing and the importance of home sites in regionals and super regionals, right? Like if you have the chance to make that much money on a big event like the College World Series, like the national championship game, by all means, go for it. The Chuck is wonderful. It's a great place to play, and it's been a really good atmosphere anyway.
It has been.
Like they fill it, but if you're, as soon as you move regionals to neutral sites or you move supers to regional sites, that's where you'll lose me.
I 100% agree because, and this can be the talk with football too, right? Is remember, I think it was last year, smaller schools can host. They are a lot of institutions and universities are now being set up to be able to host. And a perfect example is Southern Miss, right? Southern Miss has hosted multiple postseason baseball regionals, and they've done so just fine. So now translating or transferring that thought over to football, the atmospheres in those smaller areas, whether it's Hattiesburg, whatever the case, have been awesome.
Greenville,
yes.
East Carolina,
yes, exactly.
Oh, Bob.
So there is no reason why an atmosphere, whether it's Tulane, whether it's FAU, well, probably not FAU, whether it's UC, like, or not UCF's not even Group of Five,
like a Tulane,
Memphis, Tulane, whatever, whoever
Louisiana.
it is, yeah, it doesn't matter because those places will fill and they will have one of the more rambunctious crowds compared to other ones that are just used to those big time games being held at their sites.
Latex Mallard, no, we will not ever host a bowl game at Memorial Stadium. That's not going to work. But the hope is within the next, decade, Nebraska hosts a playoff game?
I think so.
Is that fair?
I also wonder, with it being such an arms race now in college football, not even just on the roster, but with coaches, right? Is that if Nebraska ever gets to a spot to where they are finding success and they just can't get over that hump, there's a lot of factors that go into play, but the college landscape, if we know anything, is going to look dramatically different than it does right now because it looks dramatically different in the present day than it did 10 years ago. So where if Nebraska has any remote success, do they try to get better? Where do they try to scrape to get over the hump? And automatically you look at the head coach. So that's why I say, yeah, you would expect it in the next 10 years because you have to, because if you don't, then you'll head to the bottom of the college football world. And as we know, Nebraska, they're not at the bottom. They can't get lower. They cannot allow themselves to get lower. And so it's a grind of a world. It's going to be so competitive going forward in college football that if Nebraska wants any sort of national respect, that they have to. They need to. They need to be at least in the conversation to be like, yeah, they can host a playoff. They can host it. So interesting conversation. Had no idea we were going to land there. I can't remember how it all started, but that's okay. 402-464-5685. The Honda of Lincoln hotline and the Starter Heyman text line are open for you guys the rest of the way here. Next up, we have to talk about Husker hoops because Nebraska men's basketball getting ready to host Ohio State and Chris Holtmann tonight. We're going to talk about some old Ohio State basketball teams with some names that I was thinking about today that I frankly had not had in my mind for about 10 years. So we're going to talk about those as well as some Chris Holtmann teams and the current Chris Holtmann team for the Ohio State Buckeyes. They started off this season hotter than can be. They've cooled down, though, significantly since then. It's a game on paper where Nebraska probably should come away victorious tonight. So will the Huskers get their 15th win of the season? It's 6 p.m. tip-off on Peacock. So make sure you get those subscriptions. No TV tonight, just the stream on Peacock for Husker basketball fans if you're not going down to Pinnacle Bank Arena. Let's take a quick timeout. When we return, it's more of the happy hour. Nick Sainert, Austin Norman with you. Rico currently out of town doing some Supernovas work. By the way, Supernovas start their season tomorrow night. So make sure you tune into the Supernovas radio network right here on 93.7 The Ticket for all the action. I think pregame coverage starts at 6 p.m. for their matchup against the Atlanta Vibes. So let's go ahead and take our quick timeout, and we'll continue with the happy hour coming up next right here on 93.7 The Ticket.
Follow Nick and Enrique on Twitter at Nick_Sainert and at Radio Rico AC. More of Happy Hour is next on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Problem gambling is not just a financial issue. It's an emotional problem with financial consequences. If your loved one is struggling with addiction, contact Choices Treatment Center's 24-hour helpline at 402-476-2300. That's 402-476-2300.
This is Brad with Midwest Bank, proudly serving our Nebraska communities for over 70 years. We're a community bank, making local decisions, supporting local organizations, and helping local businesses and farms succeed. We are dedicated to serving our clients and helping them meet their financial needs with sound, innovative banking solutions. From an array of checking and deposit accounts, cash management services, to small business, real estate, and ag lending. We're here for you. Your community, your bank, Midwest Bank. Find out more at MidwestBank.com. Member FDIC.
Hey guys, Jake Sorensen here from Early Break. The garage door at our house has been needing replacement for a couple years, and a few months ago, we finally did something about it. Steve's Garage Doors and Services was great through the whole process in providing options and also going to the next level to get a door that was approved by our HOA. And best of all, the removal of the old door and installation of the new door was done smoothly with no issues. Call Steve's Garage Doors and Services today at 402-480-2840.
It's pro time, Nebraska. The Omaha Supernovas, your Major League Volleyball team, are about to hit the court. Mark your calendars for January 24th at 7 p.m. when we host the first ever Pro Volleyball Federation match against the Atlanta Vibe at the CHI Health Center. Witness world-class talent, including national champions and Olympians. Don't wait. Secure your single match tickets today at supernovas.com and become a part of history.
Hi everyone, Kendall Warnock, A1 Automotive in downtown Lincoln. The last few years have been wild, but we've been here for you through all the ups and downs, and we'll be here for you when you need us the most, for all your travels and for your day-to-day driving. With winter conditions causing problems all over town, the last thing anyone needs this year is constant car troubles. Let us help you drive in peace and make sure you drive to work and to winter destinations safe. A1 Automotive, 11th and L Street downtown, always honest answers.
Garage doors can be expensive. Are you keeping yours in the best condition possible? This is Cameron Hall with Doors Plus. Doors Plus is a locally owned business that prides itself on the fast, reliable, and friendly service. Doors Plus offers flexible scheduling so you can book an appointment that fits your busy day. My team and I will come out to your property, both commercial and residential, and provide you with the necessary information you need to make sure your garage door is in working and smooth condition. Give Doors Plus a call today at 402-590-5800 to book an appointment and learn more about our preventative maintenance plans. Doors Plus, garage doors, and more.
Introducing The Outlet by Sartor Heyman. The Outlet brings you luxurious Sartor Heyman quality jewelry at unbeatable prices. Shop our expansive inventory of overstocked merchandise and a vast estate collection that just hasn't found its home yet. This is your chance to own stunning designer jewelry at a fraction of the cost. Elevate your style at The Outlet by Sartor Heyman, where luxury and affordability meet. Downtown at 12th and O or online at sartorheyman.com.
Golfing in 72 degrees and perfect conditions in Nebraska doesn't seem possible in the winter, but it is. Double Eagle Golf is your escape from the bone-chilling cold outside and a reason to keep your clubs out year-round. Book a bay with some friends for a weekend or come by for golf and happy hour on a weekday. Spring leagues begin in February. Get signed up today. That's all at Double Eagle Golf inside the Kinetic Sports Complex at West O Street. Online at doubleeagle.golf.
Junior Achievement at Lincoln inspires and prepares today's young dreamers to be tomorrow's goal breakers, leaders, and things we haven't even imagined yet. Help more kids while having a great time at the JA Bowl-a-thon. Sign your team up and raise money to ensure the educational programs focused on financial literacy, career readiness, and entrepreneurship are always free to thousands of students. The JA Bowl-a-thon is February 16th and 17th at Parkway Lanes and Hollywood Bowl. Register at lincoln.ja.org.
Old School with DP and J.
DPGM, what are you going to do to Caleb Williams? What are you going to do? You going to draft him?
No.
You're not going to draft him?
No, I don't. Here's my thing. I don't want anybody going. I'm not going to bring poison into my program because that's what it would be. He's letting you know he's poison. He's venom. Why would I put poison in my own soup?
Maybe you think you're a mongoose. You can
I have zero.
You're a mongoose. You can take the Cobra venom.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. 93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Sponsored by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Your Lincoln forecast for today, a chance of freezing rain this morning, otherwise fog and freezing fog. Today we'll see a high around 34. Tonight, a chance of freezing rain, otherwise fog and freezing fog expected with a low around 31. And tomorrow, a chance of rain and more freezing rain, more fog too. We'll see a high around 35. Meteorologist Kyle Klecker for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Action Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electric is the call I make when I have a need for plumbing services. Whether it's for my home or office, if I need a repair to a water heater, softener, or even my garbage disposal, I know I can count on Action to help. In one simple call, their amazing customer service team promptly schedules a service call, often getting to my needs within a day. Action delivers honest, quality services we can count on. To learn more, visit actionlincoln.com.
You're listening to the Happy Hour with Nick Sainert.
I believe you people.
And Enrique Alvarez Clary.
What do you mean, you people? What do you mean, you people? Huh?
Sponsored by Empire Fence and Netting on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back in. It's the Happy Hour, 93.7 The Ticket, theticketfm.com. Nick and Austin with you. We're going to go back and address the whole NFL scripted or not thing in the crossover with Strick, because we know he enjoys that side of things. So unnamed texter 1000, we'll go ahead and talk to him. We'll go ahead and talk to Strick about it, see, get his thoughts in the crossovers. We get you ready for On the Block. First up, though, we got to talk Husker hoops. Nebraska basketball getting ready to host Ohio State tonight. It's on Peacock. So make sure you get those subscriptions if you're planning or wanting to watch it at least. 6 p.m. tip, no longer 8 p.m. tip-offs for at least a couple of weeks. Nebraska's next 8 p.m. tip-off will be on Wednesday, February 7th at 8 p.m. against Northwestern on the road in Evanston. But for now, it's just 6 p.m. and around that time frame. So once again, Nebraska 14-5 on the season, coming in off of their 6-point win against Northwestern at home last Saturday after dropping their previous two, which then followed up the number one defeat of Purdue at home the last time the Huskers were actually at home prior to Northwestern's game. So now, Austin, I ask you this. It was announced or reported that according to ESPN's BPI, that Nebraska has the second easiest schedule remaining in the Big Ten Conference when compared to the other Big Ten teams. The only team below them is the Penn State, the Wildcats, who are struggling this year in their first year.
Lions, right?
Not the Wildcats, the Nittany Lions, who are struggling in their first year without Micah Shrewsbury. Shrewsbury, by the way, struggling immensely at Notre Dame, which is startling because
he's no Marcus Freeman yet, right?
I love Micah Shrewsbury. Something about Notre Dame coaches, I guess. Dang.
Maybe it's not Notre Dame coaches. Maybe it's Notre Dame.
Maybe it's Notre Dame, who Notre Dame decides to go after.
Maybe it's just Notre Dame.
I do have an Irish football helmet on my desk back there.
It is very shiny.
It is bright gold one. Nonetheless, Nebraska, just an outlook here these next couple games before I get your thoughts, Austin. So obviously the Buckeyes tonight, then Maryland on the road in College Park, led by obviously Kevin Willard. Then you get another crack, and this is the big one, at Wisconsin at home next week on Thursday. Then you follow that up with a weekend match against Illinois. So those are your next four. Ohio State tonight, Maryland Saturday, and then Wisconsin and Illinois next weekend. This is we continue to do this every 4-game stretch. This is a big opportunity for Nebraska because they have a chance to once again continue to show that, you know what, we're a tournament team. We're a tournament caliber team. ESPN's Joe Lunardi has Nebraska as a 9 seed if the season were to end today in the NCAA tournament. So there's room to work with for Nebraska, but you need to get the ones at home.
That you do, because Ohio State coming here after Northwestern, right? Northwestern's a solid team. That's going to be a good win by the end of the year. Ohio State, I still think, will turn into a good win. I I was still weirded out by the year the Buckeyes had last year. They were much more talented than their record indicated, and the metrics loved them, right? We were comparing an Ohio State team that won like 5 games in the conference to Nebraska, who was, darn near 500 in the conference, even up to the end of the year, because the net loved Ohio State.
Yeah.
I like Ohio State more this year than I did last year. And there's a lot of pieces there. I think Chris Holtmann is kind of in the Ryan Day situation where Ohio State basketball fans are a little tired of him, despite him doing really nothing wrong necessarily. So tonight's a big one. At Maryland, you expect Maryland to be favored. Maryland is so up and down, but they're usually solid at home. Then maybe the 2 most important games for Nebraska's hopes of moving up seed lines are Wisconsin and Illinois. If you get revenge on Wisconsin, even if it's at home, you get bonus points for that.
Yeah.
Right, for that win. Now, beating Wisconsin on the road would have been super bonus points, but whatever. You go to the Kohl Center, it's a tough place to play. Find a way to eke that game out at home. And then Illinois. Just got Terrence Shannon Jr. back. Looked better without him than I thought they had any business looking. And Nebraska has historically struggled in the State Farm Center. But if you can, make that your big road upset of the year, that's a huge deal. Even if you go to Northwestern after that and you find a way to squeak that one, I think these are 2 very evenly matched teams, Nebraska and Northwestern.
And you would expect that you at least have Juwan Gary back for that Northwestern game.
You would think. Hopefully prior to that, but at least by that Northwestern game. But as you look at this schedule, there aren't any games outside of Wisconsin and Illinois on the 1st and the 4th of February that move the needle, too much either way for Nebraska. Obviously, if you take care of business at home, that gives you Ohio State, Wisconsin, Michigan, Penn State, Minnesota, and Rutgers. Fine, but nothing's like, oh yeah, that team deserves to be a 7 seed instead of a 9. Maybe the Wisconsin one, but you're probably going to pair that with, maybe it's a loss at Ohio State. You split that. Maybe you end up splitting with Indiana. There's a loss there, which would, not make you lose any position from your 9 seed line right now, but wouldn't help you jump up necessarily. So I think, again, I've said this all year. I'm going to continue to say it. Being in that 8-9 game is probably the highest spot Nebraska fans can hope for. I still think this team ends up on the 9 side of that, if not in like the 10 or 11 range, because I still think this is a bubble team that's really bolstered by Purdue at this point. Michigan State's got to pick it up for that win to start meaning what I think it should. Duquesne has not lived up to my expectations in the A-10 necessarily. Oregon State still atrocious. And if Nebraska is going to lose, to Wisconsin, right, at home, it can't be by 16 points, right? At some point, this Nebraska team, you never apologize for wins, right? Win. That's the most important thing. But if you're going to want to be taken more seriously by the committee, you have to really, leave a mark against Ohio State. Like, don't just win, but win it by more than people thought you would.
Well, it's similar to like the Iowa game last year, where at home, where you shut down, I believe it was Chris Murray. Chris Murray was still here because Keegan was with the Kings. But you shut down Chris Murray and you won 88-68. You dominated. Now, going back to this season, like Austin said, there's not a lot of games that maybe move the needle for you in terms of like seeding. It doesn't move it up, but it can certainly move you down. And with what I'm getting at here is that it is going to be just as important, if probably actually more important now going forward, that once you get to the month of February specifically, and you play the home game against Penn State, you play the home game against Minnesota, you play a home game against Rutgers and Michigan, you cannot lose. You can't, because as Austin just got done saying, those aren't going to help you a whole lot if you win them, but they will kill you if you lose them.
And if you lose them, that puts more pressure on the Big Ten tournament, where Nebraska has historically not been good. And then you have to go win a game at a neutral site against someone most likely with more rest than you.
You're absolutely right. And so it's going to be like, that's why I look at tonight's game as a very, very important one. Very important, because Nebraska, this is one that you want to have as a feather in your cap, just in case down the road you lose at Northwestern, right? It's not that it's going to negate them, but it's, hey, you know what? We beat a competent basketball team to kind of get us 2 steps ahead. Maybe now this loss takes us 1 step back. We're still 1 step ahead in the grand scheme of it all. That's like you're kind of playing mind games. Nebraska fans were going to do this. I'm going to do this myself. Is like I'm going to internally be thinking, okay, does a Northwestern win and an Ohio State win negate a loss at Indiana, right? Does that negate a lot the Minnesota loss? Like, what does this do for Nebraska? So the more wins, and as cliche and stupid as this is going to sound, the more wins Nebraska stacks up at home, the better they're going to be if they lose some games on the road.
I want to take us back to the 2018-2019 season in the Big Ten. No, wrong year. 2017-18. Why does it keep pulling those up? Okay, 2017-2018. Big Ten men's basketball standings. Nebraska ends up 13-5 in the conference. 16-1 at home on the year, 22-11 overall.
This would have been Tim's final year.
It would have been. Correct. Michigan State 16-2, Ohio State 15-3, Purdue 15-3, Nebraska 2 games back at 13-5, tied with Michigan. Then a chasm, a 4-game split between Michigan in a tie with Nebraska for essentially 3rd place in the Big Ten, to Indiana and Penn State, Maryland 8-10, Wisconsin 7-11, Northwestern 6-12, Iowa 4-14, Illinois 4-14. I still think Nebraska fans, and even just Big Ten basketball fans in general, right? I'm not even going to throw Nebraska fans in this solely, think that the Big Ten is this killer, brutal, night in, night out basketball league. There are grown men in this league. It's solid basketball. This league is nowhere near the level of the Big 12. It is nowhere near the level of the Big East.
Yeah.
Those are by far the 2 best conferences in college basketball. So that margin for error that you thought you had, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, it was dried up then, right? There's just not a lot of respect for the Big Ten because, yeah, it's physical. It's tough every night, but Big 12 and Big East teams actually win games when it matters. So Nebraska doesn't get the Big Ten benefit of the doubt in these conversations. And I'll throw this on Nebraska's fans specifically, is Nick, we haven't seen much successful basketball around these parts in a long time. So the first instinct is to jump the gun and maybe think a little bit higher. Knock like 10% off your excitement or add like 10% to your pessimism. And that's going to be a truer sense of where the team is at, positively or negatively, because our perception here in the 402 is much different than the perception of how the committee looks at it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, and also like I'll be honest. Go watch a Big East basketball game. There was this last Saturday. We haven't been able to talk about the college basketball this last Saturday. Maybe you guys talked about it on the block, but it started off hot, right? It started off with a 3 overtime game between Creighton and Seton Hall.
Pirates got jobbed.
Seton Hall. Now here's the deal, Austin. Seton Hall, they were picked to finish like 8th or 9th in the Big East. Here they are. If they would have beaten Creighton on Saturday, they were going to be number 1 alone at the top of the Big East standings ahead of the UConn game on Saturday as well. But UConn's the number 1 team in the country. In the Big East, you have, just some of these teams. In the Big East, UConn, Creighton, Marquette, Nova, Xavier, a Rick Pitino and St. John's team that almost beat Marquette. Also an overtime game on Saturday.
Also should have beat Creighton.
They also should have beaten Creighton. Seton Hall in first year of a head coach as well. And then you have a DePaul team that whole situation with Tony Stubblefield's hilarious.
Pouring out for a game.
Yeah, Tony Stubblefield at DePaul got fired because they couldn't raise NIL money. The boosters were not willing to. They're 3-15 this season, 0-7 in the conference. They couldn't raise NIL money, so they had to fire him.
Never forget that DePaul hired or interviewed John Shire and said, "No, thanks, we're good."
They said no to the current Duke head coach to take Tony Stubblefield, and they've been historically bad the last couple of seasons. But no, back to Nebraska. That just goes to show, right, that the games, although they're against unranked opponents, and maybe on paper they're not going to be as splashy or as exciting as the victory over number 1 Purdue was. But look at it this way, Husker fans. Nebraska doesn't have to travel to West Lafayette. They don't. Right. They don't have to travel back to the Kohl Center. They don't have to go back to the barn where they lost. They don't have to play, other than the two current ones that are currently ranked on their schedule, a ranked team the rest of the year. The final two ranked teams that they have on their slate are in the next 4 games against Wisconsin, who you have at home, and on the road at Illinois.
And nobody later on is playing their way into that conversation.
Absolutely not.
Not even close.
Michigan's atrocious. You get you can get blindsided by the name. Michigan is atrocious.
They will be in full quit mode.
Yeah, they're last in the Big Ten Conference right now. So like, don't get too excited or blindsided or blinded, I guess, by the Michigan name. Penn State's having a down year. You look at the teams that are left on Nebraska's schedule. This is not us saying, yeah, you know what, Husker basketball going to win out. No, there's certainly, though, there is no excuse not to find yourself solidly in the in at least a bye in the Big Ten tournament and or a berth in the NCAA tournament before postseason play.
Right. You should feel really good about your chances of getting on that 8 or 9 game by the time you get to the end of the year. If Nebraska has taken care of business, which is very difficult for this program to do.
Yeah.
Right. I'm as guilty of it as anyone, right? I don't mean to just bash Husker fans on this, right? Like, Iowa is not a vintage Iowa team, but they were scrappier than I gave them credit for being, right? In that game that Nebraska went out to Carver Hawkeye Arena. Now, Nebraska didn't play well, and I think that's more on Nebraska than it is on, Iowa, because they're kind of about to have their Frank Solich moment with Fran McCaffrey. And I'm fascinated to see how that plays out. The point is, Nebraska is legitimately more talented than probably 75% of the teams left on its schedule. Like, you should see Nebraska with an advantage up and down the lineup or in coaching or in scheme with a matchup to exploit in the majority of these matchups. But what it comes down to is these guys have to understand what's in front of them. They have to understand the magnitude of the opportunity and not get caught up in the moment or lost, in the big picture, but understand that their work drilling down on the details every day in practice and every possession in the game is what's going to get them where they have the ability to go.
So this Ohio State team they are 13-5 on the season, I believe is their record. 13-5. They have a couple of intriguing wins earlier in the season. They beat Alabama by 11 at home. They beat the Minnesota team. They beat UCLA by 7, beat West Virginia by 3. However, they have a couple really bad losses, and a couple of those bad losses are, for example, Texas A&M beat them at Ohio State by 7. They lost to Wisconsin by double digits, similar to the Huskers. They lost to Indiana in Bloomington. They lost to, as I mentioned, the worst team in the Big Ten Conference, the Michigan Wolverines. So they've definitely been kind of up and down. Although they have some really intriguing and really nice wins on their resume, they have some really bad losses.
And this is where, again, you bury a team, right? Don't let them use you to get hot.
No. Yeah, don't allow it to happen. 6 p.m. tonight on Peacock. So make sure you get your subscription or just pack PBA. It should be an okay night. 6 p.m., hopefully not too late of arriving crowd for Husker Nation, but Buckeyes and the Huskers tonight at 6 p.m. Let's go ahead and take our final time out. When we come back, let's talk more about the NFL script. Is it scripted? Is it more than just the first 10 to 15 plays of a drive? Maybe, but maybe not. 11-year-olds certainly think so. Austin doesn't. We'll see what Strick thinks when we return and close out the happy hour on a Tuesday. Huge thanks to Empire Fence and Netting for their support as always. We'll be right back on 93.7 The Ticket.
Download our app by searching 93.7 The Ticket in your app store to stay in touch and listen all day long wherever you are. More of the happy hour is next on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Hi, everyone. Kendall Warnock, A1 Automotive in downtown Lincoln. The last few years have been wild, but we've been here for you through all the ups and downs, and we'll be here for you when you need us the most, for all your travels and for your day-to-day driving. With winter conditions causing problems all over town, the last thing anyone needs this year is constant car troubles. Let us help you drive in peace and make sure you drive to work and to winter destinations safe. A1 Automotive, 11th and L Street downtown, always honest answers.
This is Brad with Midwest Bank, proudly serving our Nebraska communities for over 70 years. We're a community bank, making local decisions, supporting local organizations, and helping local businesses and farms succeed. We are dedicated to serving our clients and helping them meet their financial needs with sound, innovative banking solutions. From an array of checking and deposit accounts, cash management services, to small business, real estate, and ag lending. We're here for you. Your community, your bank, Midwest Bank. Find out more at midwestbank.com. Member FDIC.
Garage doors can be expensive. Are you keeping yours in the best condition possible? This is Cameron Hall with Doors Plus. Doors Plus is a locally owned business that prides itself on the fast, reliable, and friendly service. Doors Plus offers flexible scheduling so you can book an appointment that fits your busy day. My team and I will come out to your property, both commercial and residential, and provide you with the necessary information you need to make sure your garage door is in working and smooth condition. Give Doors Plus a call today at 402-590-5800 to book an appointment and learn more about our preventative maintenance plans. Doors Plus, garage doors, and more.
Introducing The Outlet by Sartor Heyman. The Outlet brings you luxurious Sartor Heyman quality jewelry at unbeatable prices. Shop our expansive inventory of overstocked merchandise and a vast estate collection that just hasn't found its home yet. This is your chance to own stunning designer jewelry at a fraction of the cost. Elevate your style at The Outlet by Sartor Heyman, where luxury and affordability meet. Downtown at 12th and O or online at sartorheyman.com.
Hey guys, Jake Sorensen here from Early Break. The garage door at our house has been needing replacement for a couple years, and a few months ago, we finally did something about it. Steve's Garage Doors and Services was great through the whole process in providing options and also going to the next level to get a door that was approved by our HOA. And best of all, the removal of the old door and installation of the new door was done smoothly with no issues. Call Steve's Garage Doors and Services today at 402-480-2840.
Golfing in 72 degrees and perfect conditions in Nebraska doesn't seem possible in the winter, but it is. Double Eagle Golf is your escape from the bone-chilling cold outside and a reason to keep your clubs out year-round. Book a bay with some friends for a weekend or come by for golf and happy hour on a weekday. Spring leagues begin in February. Get signed up today. That's all at Double Eagle Golf inside the Kinetic Sports Complex at West O Street. Online at doubleeagle.golf.
Junior Achievement at Lincoln inspires and prepares today's young dreamers to be tomorrow's goal breakers, leaders, and things we haven't even imagined yet. Help more kids while having a great time at the JA Bowl-a-thon. Sign your team up and raise money to ensure the educational programs focused on financial literacy, career readiness, and entrepreneurship are always free to thousands of students. The JA Bowl-a-thon is February 16th and 17th at Parkway Lanes and Hollywood Bowl. Register at lincoln.ja.org.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Sponsored by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Your Lincoln forecast for today, a chance of freezing rain this morning. Otherwise, fog and freezing fog today. We'll see a high around 34. Tonight, a chance of freezing rain. Otherwise, fog and freezing fog expected with a low around 31. And tomorrow, a chance of rain and more freezing rain, more fog too. We'll see a high around 35. Meteorologist Kyle Klecker for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
It's Pro Time, Nebraska. The Omaha Supernovas, your Major League Volleyball team, are about to hit the court. Mark your calendars for January 24th at 7 p.m. when we host the first ever Pro Volleyball Federation match against the Atlanta Vibe at the CHI Health Center. Witness world-class talent, including national champions and Olympians. Don't wait. Secure your single match tickets today at supernovas.com and become a part of history.
Big box stores are tempting for buying equipment for your high schooler in sports or for yourself in your sports leisures. But buying new is awfully expensive. Why not go somewhere with new and used options? Play It Again Sports has quality, slightly to gently used equipment, and 50% of their inventory is actually new equipment. And it's more than baseball, softball, and golf. They also have equipment for disc golf, fitness, hockey, and more. Plus, they're always buying products. Bring your gear you're done with and get trade money on the spot. Play It Again Sports at 48th and Vine.
Early break with Sip and Jake.
So he can maybe run a little bit. Speed option, those things. All you want to do.
Speed, I can't see him.
It's also.
Look what you did. Look what.
Look what you did. Look at Bill. Come on now.
Calm down.
I don't say anything about semicolons or should there be a
Word
parentheses or
Too many commas over there.
Too many
Zip. Come on.
run-on sentences. Don't talk about that. It's not my wheelhouse.
Early break with Zip and Jake from 6 to 8 every weekday morning. You're listening to the Happy Hour with Nick Sainert.
Herbie the Fourth ate his first solid food today, prompting a response of nothing but steaks all week for the Nebraska offensive line.
Then Enrique Alvarez Clary.
No more peaches and carrots for Herbie the Seventh. Baby food be damned.
Sponsored by Empire Fence and Netting on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back in. It's the Happy Hour, 93.7 The Ticket, theticketfm.com. Nick, Austin, and now Strick joining you. Just a quick note, and we were talking about college baseball earlier. How about college softball really quickly? Nebraska cracks the top 25 in the preseason rankings for college softball. The Huskers come in at number 17 in the country in the preseason top 25. So just a little bit of a note there. About a month away from starting their season, they'll make trips to California this year, a couple other sunny places. Husker baseball will start their season in Dallas, Fort Worth in Texas, where the Texas Rangers play. I should say Arlington, maybe. At Globe Life Field. They'll actually be the first team this calendar year to play a baseball game in Globe Life Park down in Texas.
Let that World Series magic just sprinkle down on top of Nebraska's
there you go.
heads.
Just like that. Let that World Series magic sprinkle. In other news, Milwaukee Bucks, you guys were talking about it during the break. Milwaukee Bucks have parted ways with Adrian Griffin, their head coach. And according to Shams, Doc Rivers has emerged as the leading candidate to replace Coach Griffin in Milwaukee.
Yeah, I mean, I still don't understand that. But when you look around the landscape, what coaches are out there?
Yeah.
So even though I may not agree with it or I may not feel that that's the move, I think in the landscape of the day, fellas, I think it's just you have a veteran team like that. You're looking for probably a veteran guy who is respected, who has championship pedigree. Even though, like my fellow co-host, we don't believe that maybe he was the difference maker on the fact is why they won in Boston. But to say the least, I still think that the NBA is about rapport. Let's just call it what it is. It's not necessarily about X and O's. It is, but it's also about rapport, getting the most out of each and every person up and down that roster that you can, and understanding those mentalities and how to not just coach them, but how to have relationships with them that gets them to run through walls for you.
So go ahead, Austin.
I say if Giannis was on the team with Allen, Paul, and KG, would he be the best player?
At that time, he might. I mean, I think he'd be going 1-2 with KG. I think they'd be a dangerous combination, to be honest. With his ability on the inside, KG stretchability, that could have been a dangerous 1A, 1B combination there. Paul was still him.
Right.
I think Paul was still the ace of that group. And then a fourth option in Ray Allen at that time. And then you still had Rondo. So
right.
shoot, that could have been a killer squad.
Let me ask you this, just for casual NBA fans out there. The Bucks were 30-13. They were in second place in the East. This was Griffin's first year after they fired Budenholzer after losing, I believe, in the first round of the Heat. Was that correct?
Yep.
They fired Budenholzer, hired this guy. It's his first year as an NBA head coach. He's 30-13. Why fire? What's the move here? Because they haven't announced anything. But as somebody that's been in the locker room, Strick, how much does the locker room have say? How much say does the locker room have? Especially, I guess, when you have a guy like Giannis on that roster.
I mean, okay. I can only refer back to a specific situation when you have real strong alpha personalities. The team was Paul Pierce, young Paul Pierce, emerging star, Antoine Walker, all-star, and a group of guys that were veterans. And they put us together, and I got to see Jim O'Brien navigate getting those guys to understand, but then them communicate the same way back, where there was just a really open dialogue between those two guys and the staff and the coach, which was then disseminated in the way that they dealt with others, and it was different relationships and how they dealt with others in that group. So I can only look at it from that standpoint and know the importance of it. So I know that the voices are there.
Yeah.
They have also the ears of GMs that can go above you and have those serious talks about what they like, what they don't like, what they're seeing. How do you feel? What do you think? Because you've got to understand that Giannis carries power as being one of the best players in the NBA, top 10, easily top 5, maybe. And so therefore, you're already in a tough market to retain. Milwaukee's not a destination, so to speak. And so you're going to have to work with what you got and who you got and who's in that room and other methods of getting them there outside of your typical free agency. So you have to basically hear that guy. You have to not necessarily adhere, but you want to be closely linked with your decision-making when it comes to them.
Let's not forget that Adrian Griffin was essentially Giannis's pick, right? Giannis had a lot of say in letting Budenholzer go.
Yeah, because he was an assistant.
In Adrian Griffin, right? Making that jump. So let's not pretend like Giannis doesn't have any blame for this. And it's not the first time we've seen a super mega star, pick a coach and then it not go well. KD has done it his fair share of times. That comes to mind, obviously, with Steve Nash up in Brooklyn. But
LeBron?
Yeah, LeBron time to time.
Cavaliers.
Right.
That's how your boy emerged.
It's true. I'm going to throw this
Your
to you.
boy.
Our boy.
Our boy.
I want to throw this to you, though, Strick. You say Milwaukee's not a destination, and totally agree. But aren't star players the destination more so than the city? Or does the city really play that big an impact? Like, I know Dame wanted to go to Miami, but I'm sure if you told him he could play with Giannis, I'm sure he didn't even consider that possibility, but I'm sure he wasn't disappointed to play with Giannis.
No, I think if it comes down to it, you obviously want your pick of the litter, right? Like if you walk in and you have dogs sitting in there and you wanted a teacup toy poodle, you're gonna look for that. You don't want a pug. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Pug.
But if it's all that the pug's left and you wanted a little cute puppy dog, yeah, you'll take the ugly cute puppy dog. You'll take it, but you don't want it. You want a teacup poodle, right? So that's what it comes down to. They'll go because let's be honest. What options did he have?
Waste away in Portland
in Portland? No. We've seen the little comic strip trying to get out of there.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if you're going to get an opportunity to play with one of the best in out there doing it right now, okay, I'll take that. It's second choice. It's not my favorite option, but I take it.
Moving on really quickly, Strick. Actually, we're out of time, unfortunately. What's coming up on the show today, guys?
It's going to be a good one. We'll talk about Nebraska's need for Juwan Gary. How careful or aggressive should they be with him? Teach Tape Tuesday will be Karl Anthony Towns going for 62, but his head coach, Chris Finch, not being happy. I want to dive into Chris Finch's comments and get Strick's perspective on that, having played with and against some really good scorers. What's the difference between a high-scoring game and a high-impact game? We'll play the shootout for $30 to the upside at 245. Nebraska football adds a general manager to the staff. What does that mean in the NIL era? And DP had me put together an all-time Nebraska basketball team. I want Strick's thoughts on the team I put together. Not just the first 5, but filling out a roster. I want Strick's thoughts on that after Alumni Weekend.
All right, there you go. All that and more coming up on the block with Strick and Austin. Huge thanks for joining us for this last hour and some change. Huge thanks to Austin for filling in. Make sure you tune in tonight, 6 p.m. on Peacock for Husker Hoops versus the Buckeyes. But that'll do it for us from here at the Happy Hour on the Block with Strick and Austin. Coming up next, talk to you guys tomorrow.
Introducing The Outlet by Sartor Heyman. The Outlet brings you luxurious Sartor Heyman quality jewelry at unbeatable prices. Shop our expansive inventory of overstocked merchandise and a vast estate collection that just hasn't found its home yet. This is your chance to own stunning